entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? Like many of us, I'm sure you're feeling it. Business is hard. And now more than ever, you need to have a plan to help your business not just survive, but thrive. I'm Marcia Reiner. I'm a business growth strategist on a mission with a twisted tongue. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guides your growth, and plans for a future exit. Because an exit worth selling, a business worth selling is also a business worth owning. I want to share strategies that I've earned and learned on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I have something to share with you. I've got 5 ways that you can turn your business into one worth selling right now. Go pick that up on my website at trajectorybiz, that's biz.com. I'm really excited to have my guest today, a Canadian, Aristotle. How do I say that, sir?
You can say it in English.
Aristotel. Okay, Dascal. Aristotel is the founder of One Day CEO, and he helps business owners remove themselves from daily operations without sacrificing revenue by using scalable systems. For the last 10 years, he's been coaching businesses to scale their operations twice as fast with half the cost, using systems that he's used with corporations like Cisco, Kraft, IBM, and unicorns like Hootsuite, and many startups. Now he's on a mission to help us, the small and medium-sized business owners, to run their operations on autopilot without overburn. Welcome to Profit with a Plan.
Hey, good to be here.
Thank you so much. So, all right. We all know that, as I mentioned in my comment, running your business is hard, and, trying to get the operations and managing that is even harder to get it done while doing all the 8 other things that you have to do in your business. So what are some of the things we need to look at when we're looking at systems, or even better yet, what things do we need to systematize?
So, many people ask me about specific tools, but it's not necessarily about the tools in itself. The tools are it's just that. They're just tools that are meant to bring into our attention the right numbers and the right status of our businesses. So when we're looking at our businesses, it's more important to understand what are those inflection points, what are those critical points that define the current stage and the progress that we want to see towards our future of our business. So I would say that the most important thing is to really understand what are those stages that our customers go through in the process in our business, and then what are the goals for the business in itself, and how those numbers change over time, I would say. So starting from marketing, that just shows, that's the most important, right? Like that's the blood of a business.
Yeah.
Really understanding the client journey. So from the client, how they get in contact with you, how you deliver the product that they need, and how it really helps them. And then furthermore into upselling them or any other goals that you have for them or for your business to track that growth.
I love it. I think that, you mentioned the most important part is marketing, because if you're not running your business, or if you're not out there telling people about your business, then your business is never going to succeed. So let's talk about one of those systems that maybe you put in place for marketing, and then we can try some other conversations as we go along.
It depends a lot on the type of business that you have to define the right marketing strategy that you have. But to the bare bone, it boils down to a conversion from a stranger into a lead, from a lead into an opportunity, into someone that is really actively interested in your product, then getting into and then getting them into a client. And depending on the marketing funnel that you have for your business, on your marketing strategy that you have, whether it's paid, whether it's social media based organic marketing, whether it's affiliate only or through referrals and recommendation, you have different points where you track those numbers and exactly intermediate points that show you the progress of those. For example, if you're just doing ads, that you have specific metrics for those. You have the click-through rate, you have, how many people actually enter their email address into or fill the form, depending on what you have on your ad. If you're doing social media, more organic marketing, that it's about, how many posts did you post, what are the reactions or the engagement that you did. So those activities that you do, specific for a specific marketing campaign or marketing approach that you have, they define different numbers that you track. But high level, they're the same, sales stage metrics for the business. There's from strangers to leads, from leads to opportunity, from opportunity to customers, basically.
Okay, so that's great. We're talking about numbers, but let's talk about systems. So how do we, is there some sort of system that we want to put in place to track those numbers or follow those numbers up? Because we all know you got to know your numbers. You got to know what you're doing in it. But in relation to systems, what kind of system would I put in place maybe to ensure that the marketing money I'm investing is actually producing the results that I'm looking for?
Yeah. So from my experience, people get very easily distracted by a bunch of tools. So I would say that the best bet that you have is configuring the tool that you're actually using to do marketing to throw back those numbers. For example, if you're doing Facebook ads or Google AdWords or any other platform that you're using for generating those leads, try to use any features that they have in their platform to show you exactly what those numbers are. And for example, with Facebook Ads Messenger, Facebook Ads Manager, you can configure over there, custom conversions, and based on that, you can configure specific metrics like cost of a lead, cost of acquisition, cost of a book call, or any other metrics that actually matter for your business. So my suggestion is try to use whatever metrics and numbers and reports the tool that you're actively using for marketing is offering you. And excellent. Secondary would be, to use any other integrations if you want to bring those numbers into, a bigger context or across departments. If you as a business owner or you want to see multiple departments and all their metrics in the single place and you want to do it more automatic, you can pull that information with integrations or API connection, custom coding, or even manual. But that should be basically secondary. First and foremost, try to use the tools that are given to you exactly by that platform. Now, of course, for things like organic marketing, what tools you can use? Well, you should use the tool that is the easiest for you to make possible the tracking. So I would say if pen and paper is the first line of defense for you, so that you don't forget to track your numbers, then put it in on that sheet of paper. And then depending on what the overall approach for your business, whether you're using Google spreadsheets, whether you're using a CRM, depending on what you're using as a business, try to track those. Me personally, I like to use a tool called Coda.io. It's like a smart document. The reason for which I use that one is because I'm a geek when it comes to numbers and tools and integrations. I want to have everything calculated automatically. And that is a really easy way for me to do it. But again, I still go through the same teachings that I do myself. I track everything in Facebook. I'm looking at the numbers that, organic marketing, like, the Facebook Studio dashboards are offering me. Those are the first line in defense. And then I would say at least a Google spreadsheet or something like that to aggregate more information across the company, or a CRM if you want to get fancier, or something more custom. But I wouldn't suggest that for a business owner to get into. The more specialized and low level you get, the more defocus you get from the purpose of marketing in itself.
Love it. And you shouldn't be doing all that yourself as a business owner. You need to have a team to do that. So
exactly.
I love that. Yeah, because there is a lot of, you can get lost in the weeds, but there are a lot of numbers and details that you need to understand in that phase of that client journey. to be able to see if that money being invested is getting a return, right? You're getting the clients. So if I'm spending $1,000, just round number, $1,000 out, I better be getting at least $1,000 worth of business coming in from it. Or maybe you should not be doing that, that type of activity. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a short period of time, but it shouldn't be a year and you're still not getting that $1,000 back. So this is we're going down a rabbit hole here. But so this is a great system. And I love these systems for running your business, to know that how am I getting clients coming in and what am I paying for that? And what is that resulting for? And putting it even down on a simple piece of paper. I love that. But utilizing the tools that the companies that are help generating those referrals for you are bringing in. Awesome system and simple, right? We don't want to make it so convoluted that I have to have someone manage my systems to make sure it gets done. So I like that.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to use everything that it's having on to you. Usually what we add on top, it's usually not that relevant anyway. So the core of the things, they track it anyway. Yeah.
Okay. So now we've got we've looked at our marketing. So there are many operational sections or divisions inside your business. So we worked on marketing. What would be the next operational area that we want to look at and create systems in?
The next one, I usually emphasize the delivery being the component of your business operation that has to do with integrating the service that you have with the client. Now, sometimes that's very minimum, sometimes it's very advanced. For example, for an agency, that's a very complicated and a huge component of the business in itself. For course creators or for SaaS platforms like a software as a service, that is minimum because they build a platform, the user is just using it, they just have a little bit of support. So it depends on how much your team is engaged on applying your product into the day-to-day activity of your client. That's how much that delivery team needs to be involved.
Nice. Okay, so let's go down with an example on that. So say you've got an accounting firm or an attorney that is working closely. Let's go with the accounting firm. They're working closely with the client on multiple times during the year. The data is being transferred back and forth. What kind of systems do you want to have in place for that?
Over there, it has to do with the goals that the customer has in place, or with the goal that you have for your customer in place as well. So I would say that the most important thing over there is having a strategy for your client. The same way like you have a strategy for yourself, for your own business, in the same way, your client should have a strategy and specific numbers in itself. And those numbers are usually, or at least a subset of those numbers for their business, are the ones that you can influence yourself. So just like any service, in your mind has to be something really quantifiable about what result you have to offer for your client. So I would say that's where everything starts when it comes to the delivery, is what are the results that your client is supposed to have, and make sure that you have a plan and a strategy in place to achieve those numbers for them. So have a goal attached to it. You should have a few KPIs, a few targets, regularly updated on a yearly basis, and then down to a quarterly basis, and then some check-ins every week and a pulse every day even. But the numbers in itself, I would say, keep an eye on them on a weekly basis for sure. And the targets are being set up for, let's say, quarterly or something like that. And you have to have that in front of your customer basically all the time, because if you get into the nitty gritty of you have to enter these invoices, or you have to add a new category in your accounting system, if you go to the little tasks in itself and you miss the big picture about, okay, but what is the number, what is something that really tells me that I'm successful? Not having the right categories in accounting is telling you that you're successful. But having a good P&L is telling you that you're successful. Having a specific, ratio of, how much time your team is spending, you as a service provider, to help that client deliver, reach their targets, that's another thing that it really matters. So everything boils down to those numbers that define success for your client, which are being influenced by your service. And that's what you have to track and break down. How am I going to achieve those targets for the client? How will the client achieve those targets? And you work together with them to define exact strategy, like little projects and tasks. And depending on the level of involvement that you have with your client, you may have to provide some accountability over there. It's a difference between
a little bit of coaching, right?
What to do. Yeah. I mean, it's a difference between just telling them what to do, advising them. And this is where it's the limitation of the extent to which your business service goes as far as your offer stands. Or you can be, no, I am on the hook for bringing them results. That means that I'm not just going to tell them, well, okay, now you have your goals defined. Now we have a strategy defined, go and execute. If you're on the hook for their success and you want to take that to heart, and usually that's really helping you grow in the business, then you might as well have those regular pulse checks with your client and make sure that they implement those, because that's what is going to actually bring them back. And that sometimes is the biggest difference in the relationship with a client, and it may take the least effort. It's interesting, and people still don't do it with their clients.
Wow. Just getting them to take action on your advice and direction, because that's all we are when we're in this, when we're in this space, is we're consulting and we're giving information, and it's getting them to take action. So I was, funny enough, not to go too far off, but I was on a call last night, and the comment was always with a preface of, you can do this as long as you take action. You will be successful as long as you take action. And I think that relates everywhere in every business, that and to be able to create those systems and set expectations for your clients that you're working with. If you just take that extra step, like you mentioned, and help them take action, then they're going to succeed, and their success is meaning that they're going to be happy with your service, come back again, or refer others to you. So love that little sideline of putting a system in place ensures that you're going to get satisfied customers.
Yeah. And it helps you get to the root of the problem.
Right.
If they don't have success and your service is good, it means that there was a problem around the execution somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I can only go so far as to bring you take the horse to the water tank. I can't make them drink. So
yeah, of course.
They have to be involved with that as well. But I love the idea of,
but some people think that bringing the horse close is 100 meters away. Some people think that bringing the horse close is an inch away.
Stick in his face.
Yeah. So it depends, like how much you want to give, how much, how close you really want to bring them. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the piece that really takes a company from being good to great.
Yeah.
Is that extra step, that extra initiative, making sure that what you're offering is really, truly getting them the results that they're looking for. So love this.
It's a commitment.
Love this conversation. Okay. So, take me through some other parts, because, when I came into this conversation, I thought we were going to talk more about operations and making sure we do that. We got through some interesting add-ons with marketing and client delivery, which, are fantastic. But talk to me a little bit about the operations of the company so that we can ensure that we're getting more done with less time, right? And we can start, doing the things that we want to do in our business and even in our personal lives, because always the story is, let me just put in more hours, right? Let me just do more and I'll get better results, which isn't always the process, correct?
Yeah, definitely that is true. So when it comes to business operations, there are a few moving parts that I always keep in mind. And we did talk about, marketing and focusing on the money coming in. Basically, we did talk about setting goals and specific targets. And that influences a lot, definitely. I mean, I've seen simply companies that they just simply double everything in their business just because they attach numbers to it.
Right.
But there's one component which usually business operations is more associated with, and it's basically streamlining the execution within the business. Like in general, when you just hear the term, how streamlined is your business? Like people kind of understand and they feel like it's not that streamlined, even if they don't know exactly how to articulate what that means, but they kind of know what it means. It means that business is going smooth. It means that you don't have headaches. It means that you don't have to stay until 10 p.m. and work in your business, right? And that component in itself of streamlining the business so that it works smooth has to do with planning and execution in itself. They go hand in hand. And if it was, my ideal client usually are people that are overwhelmed in their business, that they do a lot of work themselves. And then this component starts, and we're looking and analyzing what happens in the business. So in this part of the operation, which has to do with streamlining your business, a few components are really breaking down and understanding what are your departments in your business, what are the main activities in your business, who does what, and then what specifically do you do in each of those departments, for example. And we mentioned already a few departments in the business, from marketing to delivery. I would put at the top of them all offer, research and development, or R&D, which is basically the brains of the business in itself. It's like high level, what is the niche that I'm into, all of those things. But then once that is set up, which is just in the startup phase, you have the marketing, you have the delivery to your client, you have product development where you're actually developing your product. And again, just like the delivery, it may take longer, it may take less. For a software company, it takes a lot longer, that product development. For a coach, it may take nothing because they're just a few pieces and questions that they have on a piece of paper for some, right? And that's enough. It's a lot about conversation and awareness to a client. And then you have, supporting ones like finances, and then administration, human resources. So those are supporting ones for the rest of the business. And then you look in and you say, okay, what are the main processes? How do we do marketing? How do we do client delivery? How do we develop our product? How do we do human resources and hiring and developing the talent inside of our company? How do we do our finances and manage our finances? And each of those has to have processes. Now, a lot of companies don't even do that because the owner has it on in its head and they do it themselves. And that is basically where the main blocker happens. This is the stage where it happens. It's a combination of okay, Mr. Business Owner, what do you do day to day? And how documented are those things that you do day to day? So it's a combination. And they go hand in hand because business owners tend to not document things until they're so overwhelmed and they finally realize, man, rather than getting a divorce because I'm not spending any time with my family and with kids and my kids are growing up and I don't even know them, I should hire somebody. So then
a little too late, but yes.
Yeah, a little too late. Yeah. But this is the change, and this is what streamlined business means, really understanding all the processes, what are actually you doing in your company and who does it or who should do it. And then we have the project management component and productivity, which says about, okay, how well do we do it? How do we make sure that it gets done? So that's all the project management, productivity, task tracking, all the meanings that you have for that. I mean, I could go further into discussing about the owner itself, but I want to take the direction that you want.
But this is really what owners forget. My experience is that the clients that I'm working with, they had this genius idea, whatever it was, and then they just jumped to the fifth floor and started chasing clients and putting out fires. They didn't do the setup and the structure that a really successful business has in place, such as systems and the strategy and what's the most efficient way to move the client or to move the product out the door or to get your employee to do what you want them to do.
Exactly.
And I think these systems are so important. And as we've discussed today, there's marketing, delivery, there's HR, there's operations, there's financial, there's, everything has a system to it. And the point that you really brought to heart is that if you don't do it early enough, you're going to be staying there till 10 o'clock at night. You probably missed some opportunities, and you probably damaged your personal life trying to get this massive ball up the hill. And so when do you think is the most opportune time to start systematizing your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I believe that systemizing your business should be done right away. That doesn't mean, anytime.
Now, yesterday.
That doesn't mean necessarily that you have to start hiring right now.
Right.
But you should have, systemizing your business has to do with getting on the road of breaking down what happens in your business, isolating components, and see them as different components. I think that is what is in the E-Myth book, is one of the really good books when it comes to business operation. And the author said that you should break down your departments and sub-departments and put your name on each of those. Like you are the owner, you're the director. I call them director. Yeah, exactly. I call them the director of it, because this way you don't mix marketing with operation. You don't mix support with human resources, right? It's like you're putting yourself in the shoes of a director for human resources. And this is where it starts, is understanding that there are 3 layers of type of activities that you have in your business. No matter if you're the business owner, if you do everything, or if your team does a lot of things themselves, there's execution, management, and directing. So what you want is to start systemizing your business and standardizing all the operations by removing yourself as much as possible from the execution side. And then moving into delegating that execution to other people. And then you're just managing them, and you're taking care of the high level business of the director, which is the strategy, the numbers, the direction where the company is going. And then once that is more streamlined, you remove yourself even from management, you hire managers, and they are going to do the management. And now you're just doing the high level, directing. You're telling the main strategies for some of the departments. And then you start hiring directors in some of those departments. Maybe you're going to just get stuck with a single department like marketing or delivery, which usually is one of these two that the business owners, because business owners, either they're really experts in something and that has to do with the delivery or the product development, or you're just a very entrepreneurial mindset from the beginning, and then you focus on the sales. So I would say that start as early and start with documenting the standard processes with the highest level ones. How do we do marketing? How do we get people from lead gen and the conversion points, high level? So you start with everything that is high level, and you delegate all that are low level. Basically, you delegate the execution side, and that's how you should start. But I would say do not delegate until you start documenting, until you have documented what you plan to delegate. And you don't have to document like everything, completely everything. No. When you define that, I think I'm ready to delegate this because it's eating a lot of time, it's execution, I can just create a procedure for it. Then you just create that procedure step by step, what you need to do, and maybe hire a VA or an assistant, or, you don't need
a specialist in that area.
Exactly. Subcontract something that are isolated.
Yeah, I love that. And I like the way that we looked at the high level, because I often say in my space, the CEO is not the chief everything officer, but the leader of the company. And I'm going to steal your director of the company, because their deal is to direct what everybody does, even if you're directing yourself on this specific position, but to direct others. And then the only way you can do that is by knowing the big picture and then the layers down. So yes, I did read the E-Myth. I use it regularly. And I start with a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Who's running this, and how many people do I need in here, and where are there key revenue generators that need to be focused on, and where are the ways that I can trim and reduce costs and expenses and create more out of the business. So yeah, that's a really good point to really drive that hierarchy chart and figure out who needs to be there and where you shouldn't be as the business owner. You shouldn't be doing the low end tasks. At a lower price, you can hire someone to do that.
Exactly.
But I love it because you can't do it until you create or you shouldn't do it until you create a process that is duplicatable, that you can show and give direction. Because your worst money suck in your business is to have people sit there not knowing what to do.
Yeah. Some people just get stuck in the stage where, but they're not going to do it like I can do it. They're just not.
It's easier for me.
Yeah. And the worst problem with that, it's actually not even the fact that it's just taking time right now. The worst problem is that it hardens the belief in your mind that others can't do it. And now I
your
can
business
tell
will hit a ceiling if it's only you and your business. Your business, I promise you, listeners, your business will hit a ceiling, and it'll be a low ceiling if you don't bring people in to do the things that you shouldn't be doing.
And the more time it passes, the harder it gets. The more that belief gets stuck in there. But then, you can just look at your numbers, and they're going to be the proof. Your business will not grow.
So true.
There's no way. There's always a complete correlation between these numbers, right? The belief gets harder and harder in your mind that, nobody can do it like I can do it. Well, you know what? They don't have to do it like you can do it.
Close enough. 80% is good. 80% is good. Because it frees up your time to go do the things that are more impactful to the business that only you can do.
That only you can
hire someone to do the things that others can do. They don't have to be perfect, but they can do it. Great concept here. Okay, Aristotel. So tell me, where can listeners find out more about you and One Day CEO?
Yeah, we have a community, our Facebook community. It's a free community for CEOs, and it's at onedaysceo.com/FB group from Facebook group. As a shortcut, if you want to join the community over there and just feel more inspired and get more information. And if you want to have a pulse check on your business, we have put together a quiz that you can just take, and it's like a doctor's appointment. It's got a ton of questions in there, like 15 or 20 questions that are really meant to help you identify the operations health of your business. Like how healthy is your business? How set for scale is it? And you can get that at one. And by the way, One Day CEO, it's with a number one, not with letters. So it's at onedaysceo.com/quiz. And that's how basically you can see those questions and, just take that assessment, just go into those questions. I'm sure that it's going to give you, our listeners, a really good pulse and makes you say, when you're going to read that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important. You can't fix anything unless you recognize that it might be broken or bent. It doesn't have to be fully broken. It could just be bent, and you can straighten it up and make it better. And I think the analysis that we have to do looking on our business, not necessarily in our business on a regular basis, is essential to being able to scale and take yourself to the next level. Yeah, that
awareness that most business owners just lose out of sight.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. Listeners, I hope you found an idea or two that you can put into your business that will help your business be more profitable. I know this systemizing your business and really doing things is going to take you to the next level. So consider what he's offered as some pieces that you can use, and go get those right now. And always, now more than ever, you need to have a profit plan, right? This is all about what we've been talking about. Go pick up my 5 ways to turn your business into one we're selling right now. You can get that on my website at trajectorybiz.com. And We would love to hear your questions, feedback, or just, comment. Tell us what you think. Tell us where your problems are. Tell us what system you put in place that changed your business. We will love to comment on that. And don't forget, subscribe so you can hear more information on next week's show. As always, you can catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. And we're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thank you so much.